Hi, I'm Yannick. Welcome to week 3 of module 2. I want to start this week with a question. Imagine you want to develop an online knowledge platform on resource recovery and reuse. Who's your biggest competitor? It's quite likely Google. The platform anybody uses to search the internet, right? This is the current solution that is catering to the information need of sector professionals and entrepreneurs, isn't it? And this is exactly the topic of week 3 of this course, the analysis of your competition. But before we start analyzing your competition, let's take a look at where we come from. Last week, we looked at the demand side of the market. This is the demand coming from your potential customers, the market size, etc. This week, we will look at the supply side of the market. Now, with supply side, I'm referring to the other businesses in the market that are selling a similar product to yours or that satisfy the same customer needs. In business terms, these are your competitors. Your competitors are companies that offer solutions to the problems of your potential customers. This can be through a similar product or service or with a completely different offer. Remember that Google could be considered a competitor for an online knowledge platform. Now, it's important to notice this difference because while we're analyzing the supply side of the market, is because this will very much determine how you position yourself in the market. So, as a basis, we distinguish between direct and indirect competitors. Direct competitors, again, are companies that satisfy a need of a customer or solve a problem of a customer with a very similar product or service to yours. These are competitors that you want to monitor very closely. Know what they're up to. Indirect competitors, on the other hand, are companies that solve the same problem for the customer, but with a very different product or service. For example, a takeaway pizza shop competes indirectly with a hamburger fast food restaurant. They sell quite different products, right? Pizza and hamburger, but they both target the same customer group. Customers who are hungry and want cheap fast food to take away. Another example could be manufacturers of glasses who are competing with manufacturers of contact lenses. Again, same target group. Now, let's use a visual representation, a graphic, to take a look at different levels of competition. If you look at this, the innermost circle here is where we talk about the need. This is not the actual tangible product, but the customer need or the solution that your customer is seeking. If you think of a school, for example, that is buying briquettes from solid waste, now they may do so because they're in need of a cheap alternative source of energy for heating that does not produce smoke. So at this level, competition is really linked to delivering added value that meets the customer needs. So, cheap alternative source of energy that does not produce smoke. This is where you're competing. Can you offer that? Just a quick side remark here on the inner circle. You have to consider that a school may actually have competing needs, right? They have limited resources and are looking for cheap heating, cheap teaching materials, cheap meals for students, so they may end up not buying any fuel at all because they consider it more important to have teaching materials and lunches for students rather than a warm building. But that just as a little side remark here. Let's move on to the second circle. Now, here, this is about the product. This is your briquettes or any other product that satisfies the same customer need of cheap smoke-free energy source for heating. So a product can be differentiated from the competition with different design and features, for example, for storage of briquettes, quality level, packaging, the brand name, or anything else that is directly associated with the product. Let's think of another example. So if you sell fertilizer, you can differentiate yourself from the competition by fortifying the fertilizer or by branding the packaging differently. Okay, let's move on to the outermost circle. Here we're talking about the add-on services. This includes any type of service that you provide with your product. This could be doorstep delivery of a product, or payment in installments, a warranty, or after-sales services, like for example fixing stoves that are used for burning briquettes as an add-on service, or advice on water-efficient irrigation methods, etc. Now, the more commodity-like a product is, the harder it will be to differentiate it from the competition on the level of the product. This is why differentiating your offer at the level of the add-on services can be quite an interesting tactic to compete with existing businesses selling similar products and gain market shares. Let's look at this outer circle with an example. Productos Bioorgánicos, ProBio, is a business from Mexico that produces compost, vermicompost, and organic fertilizer from livestock waste. Now, what they do is they differentiate their product from competition by offering 2 additional services to their customers. 1, they offer personal advice for farmers. And 2, they promote their products through technical workshop, field demonstrations, and semi-commercial tests. These add-on services allowed them to gain greater market shares. Okay? The ProBio example shows how R businesses can compete using add-on services. Another quite likely option is to compete on the level of the need. Now, this will be the case if you have indirect competitors satisfying the same need for a customer with conventional offers. And as you can imagine, this will be the case for many R products, because the market for R products, such as biogas for cooking, for example, is often not developed yet. This means that no other business is selling the exact same product, but many businesses might offer firewood or charcoal or similar fuels, right? So if you want to enter such a market selling biogas, you will have to convince your potential customers to switch from firewood or charcoal to your product. Now that means you have to show them that you will be able to satisfy their needs better than the competition. You need to offer added value. For example, biogas being a fuel that produces no smoke when being used for cooking. That's an added value. Let me give you another example. Ecosan is a business from Burkina Faso that produces safe organic fertilizer for agricultural production. Now, the fertilizer is produced from sanitized urine and feces. The situation in Burkina Faso at the moment is that chemical fertilizers are subsidized. So Ecosan is facing quite stiff competition. Chemical fertilizer producers are in direct competition for Ecosan, right? And they're satisfying the same need with their product. To get customers to switch to the organic fertilizer of Ecosan, the business has to demonstrate its added value. These allow the company to show the efficiency of its fertilizer and its effectiveness in light of poor soil fertility. Good. I've given you a couple of examples. At this point, it's important to point out that you might not be in competition with the actual business when you look at your R product. You may end up competing with an existing solution that already satisfies customer needs, but is not being offered from a business. Remember the example from Module 1? Farmers in Ghana frequently use untreated wastewater to irrigate their crops. Now, they get this water for free from open sewer drains. So it's not really a business you're competing with. Another typical example is households collecting firewood for cooking. Again, to get these potential customers to switch to your product and pay money for a solution that they previously received for free will need considerable efforts from your side in order to convince them to actually switch and appreciate the added value of your solution. We've defined what competition is and on what levels you can compete with similar products or solutions. Now, to establish your R business, you need to analyze the structure of the market you wish to penetrate. That is to gain market shares. Use the worksheet below to record your findings, but before you start your research, let me explain what I mean with the structure of the market. With this, I refer, for example, to the market concentration. So, to the number of businesses in the market that you're directly or indirectly competing with, and their estimated market shares. Are there a few businesses with big market shares, or many with small ones? EcoFuel Africa, EFA, from Uganda, is a business that converts farm and municipal waste into briquettes and biochar fertilizer. In their case, market competition is relatively moderate. There's a number of other direct competitors producing briquettes, such as Kampala Yellowtone Suppliers Limited, KJS, and a few smaller informal producers of briquettes, but that's it, right? So, few businesses, one with big shares and a few with smaller shares. Low competition. Another aspect of the market structure is the market integration. Now, this refers to whether businesses in the supply chain are managed by few or many players. The fewer players manage the supply chain, the harder it will be for a new business to get access to raw materials, funding, staff, and other important production factors. In this case, when few players control the supply chain, we speak of an integrated market. So, to analyze the level of market integration, you have to map out the supply chain relevant for your RRR product, or for an alternative product if there is no RRR market yet. Are your competitors managing the whole supply chain? So waste collection, transport, sorting, production, packaging, distribution, etc. Or are they just producing the competing product? Let's look at this again with an example. ProBio, the example from before, is Mexico's largest compost and vermicompost producer and part of Grupo Vis, which expands its operations to other sectors of the cattle production value chain. So they own 5 subsidiary companies operating independently. One of them is Su Carne, the largest beef producer and marketer in Mexico. Now, all of their animal waste goes to ProBio. Close proximity of ProBio to Su Carne's plant eliminates significant transport and labor costs associated with the acquisition of waste. It's 3 main products: compost, vermicompost, and nutrient-rich liquid fertilizer that are sold directly to vegetable, fruit, and grain crop farmers. Now, what you see with this case example is that in the case of ProBio, the whole supply chain from waste supply to direct sales to farmers is in the hands of the holding company Grupo Vis. Very integrated. Okay. A third aspect defining the market structure is linked to the product differentiation. How are competing products differentiated in the market? Are products differentiated at the level of need, product, or add-on services? And in what way? Right? You have to ask yourself, what are the aspects of the products that are important to the customers? And to what degree are your competitors differentiating their products to respond to the customer's interests and needs? Now, let's look at ProBio again. They sell compost, vermicompost, and nutrient-rich liquid fertilizer to farmers and households. On the level of need, ProBio is offering a cheap and sustainable alternative to chemical fertilizers. On the product level, ProBio is differentiating its product from other organic fertilizers through third-party certification and branding, which conveys a message of assured product quality to customers. On the level of add-on services, ProBio sales staff advise farmers and promote the product via technical workshop, field demonstrations, and semi-commercial tests. You remember that from before, right? Last but not least, you should analyze the conditions to enter the market. Are there entry barriers in the market, like threshold capital requirements, sources of funding, or supplier networks that are difficult to access? Is it necessary for your business to invest large amounts into infrastructure before starting your commercial production? Is it necessary to have a stronger partner network with public authorities, suppliers, academia, etc. to enter the market? Is it difficult to get access to land and capital as a new market entrant? Now, again, the implementation of the ProBio business model requires high capital investment, which is among the most cited barriers for business development in developing countries, right? In ProBio's case, the sister company, Sucarne, provided the initial investment, lowering that market barrier for ProBio. At the end of the day, your chances of gaining and sustaining competitive advantage in the market over time depend on a number of key success factors that you have to identify. You then need to analyze how you and your competitors perform on them. These factors can be linked to what is important to the customer, so finding added value regarding the need, product, or add-on service. Or factors concerning the operations, so how you assure quality and efficiency in your operations. It's needless to say that the more concentrated and integrated a market is, and the higher the differentiation of competing products and the higher the entry barriers, the harder it will be for a new RRR business to do well on key success factors. Now, this might still sound very abstract to you, so let us break this down and look at how you can compare your performance to your competition. To do so, you will have to do a competitive analysis. You will find the template for the competitive analysis in the worksheet below. Before you start filling the table, you need to decide for which customer segment you do the competitive analysis. Why is that? Because imagine that you have two very distinct customer segments, like households that are paying a fee for your waste collection service and prisons buying briquettes from you. You will have very different competitors for these two market segments, right? Okay, you've selected the customer segment you want to focus on. What you do in the first column of the table is you write down the key success factors of your market. These you have to figure out, but let me give you a few examples. These could be the selling price, the nutrient or energy efficiency of the product, reliability of delivery, friendliness of your staff, convenient payment options, strong waste supplier network, centrally located sales outlet, or that you have a super innovative technology, etc., etc., etc. So figure out which these factors are, put them down in the first column. Now what you do in the second column is you note down in what way this factor is important for the customer, or in what way this factor is important to achieve efficiency and quality in your operations. Let me give you a couple of examples again. A strong waste supplier network is important in the market to be able to keep transportation costs down and to have a reliable supply of raw material. Another example could be the energy efficiency of briquettes needs to be 3 times as high as competing products to make customers switch from coal to briquette burning stoves. Good. Then what you do is in the next column, you list your most direct competitors. You rate their performance on the key success factors. Okay, how do we do this? One of your competitors might have a long-term contract with one of the sole suppliers of animal manure in the area. So this is what you put in here. But the energy efficiency of that product might only be twice as high as coal. Okay, so you go through these success factors for your most important competitors. Now finally, what you do in the last column is you rate your own performance on how you're planning to perform on the key success factors. Let's imagine that in cooperation with a university, you've managed to develop a technology that produces briquettes that are 3 times as efficient as coal. This is what you put in there. But you may not have a contract to secure your waste supply yet. Still, what you plan to do is to enter into a partnership with one of the largest producers of industrial food waste in the country. You know that they're currently looking for a solution to their waste management challenges, and here's where you plan on actually making a move to perform well on that key success factor. So once you've done the competitive analysis, you also need to look ahead a bit into the future. Find out about trends and determine to what extent your RRR business will be viable over time in this competitive market. Do so by assessing how key success factors will develop over the next 5 to 10 years. Now check how likely your competitors will be able to adapt to these new markets. In the worksheet, you can use the extra rows provided in the table to do so. Examples of future trends, just to make that a bit more clear, could be about offering mobile payments, for example, which is something that is becoming more and more common in many places. Or being compliant with the new health regulation that may still be under development. Regulations is, by the way, a topic we'll look into in more detail in week 4 of this module. Now, last week, you should have already determined likely changes in the market demand over the next years. Analyzing if market sizes will increase or decrease. To determine if it pays off to enter market, you should also look at factors such as price pressure caused by competition, decrease in brand loyalty, or emergence of substitute products. The questions we discussed and the competitive analysis that I just outlined, this is something that should allow you to determine your chances of entering and competing successfully in a market. Be aware that the resulting information also helps in taking decisions regarding your market positioning, which is the topic of Module 3. Now, if you want to increase your chances to succeed with your RRR business, I'd ask you to make sure that you really understand your direct and indirect competitors. In that sense, I hope you dig deep into the market structure, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next week when we will analyze the institutional environment of your RRR business. Bye-bye.